questions. And if anyone has something to add to what you're learning, the whole idea behind that is just to make sure we're not leaving anyone behind. We're all going in the same direction. So does anyone has any question, thoughts? I do understand there's a question about the logins are different. I'll be interested if you don't mind sharing with the team that account, because all the accounts, as much as some of them are developer, they do give you access to everything. So yeah, if you don't mind sharing that account with the team, then I can look in the background to see exactly how that account is in the back end. But yeah, for now, small reflections, comments and inputs. And just to give you a heads up, tonight's sessions will be 70% hands-on. So there'll be highly participation from you. So yeah, so just all be ready. So I hope some of you have a laptop or a tablet or some form to be able to do the practical work. So yeah, please go ahead. Anyone, please feel free to unmute yourself or just put something in the chat window if you have any feedback or inputs in the previous sessions, please. No questions? Okay, yeah, so if there's no questions, that's a very good start. So what that means is I'll get to ask the questions myself, and I'll get the privilege to get some answers from all of you, which is nice. So just to get an idea from the last session, which was last Friday with Dan, can someone just give me an overview what relationship or application insights is? Anyone want to share what that is? Or what you understood is meant to be? So we're talking about sales insights here. What is your understanding? What is it you picked up from it? What is it? It doesn't have to be a 2-minute answer. It can just even be 5 seconds.
I think, can I go on?
Yeah, please go ahead.
I think there are free sales insights features within the sales insights. And there's also advanced sales insight features and sales. I don't know if I'm right, but I think this is within where we get to configure email, and then we get to have our auto capture and email engagements as well, and relationship analytics.
Okay, thank you so much. That's very, very useful. And I appreciate you volunteering out of the group. As I said on my last session, you do have these surprises. So what's your name again? You just spoke?
Busola.
Yeah, if you can kindly reach out to the admin, we'll give you a surprise, a gift.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, so we move on now. No one else is inputting anything else. We're going to move on with the session now. But that's how it works on every single session. We go ahead. If we ask, let's have a discussion. If you are happy to jump in and you share your sentiment, fantastic. And yeah. So, yep, we have a hand up from Femi. Femi, go ahead.
Yeah, so it helps us to build the AI capability into Dynamics.
Okay, great. Thank you. Anyone else?
Will there be a surprise gift if I give any answer?
Oh, no. It's only the first one, the first person. I'm pretty sure you could tell initially it was all a silence because everyone is thinking, what is this guy trying to do to us, right? So on the next session, whoever comes forward first from that question or discussion, yeah, then definitely there will be something, that's for sure. So that applies to everyone.
Okay.
Yeah. So What I'm going to do now, I'm going to share my screen. So you should be able to see my screen. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, great. So today's session is broken into 3 parts. So we're going to finish off where Dan left off last week on Friday. So there was a set of slides you're talking about sales insights. We're going to finish off that. And then I'm going to introduce you to a high-level overview of everything we're doing here, which will be for about 5-10 minutes. And then the rest of it, we're going to have hands-on. So before we get going, we have developers on the call, right?
Yes. Yes, we do.
Okay, fantastic. So for all the developers on the call, can you put your name in the chat window and then just put in brackets developer, please? Business analysts, testers, project managers, scrum masters, we will get to you as well. Is there anyone putting anything in the chat window? Okay, great. Yep, great. We have 2 so far. Any more developers? Okay, any more developers, or that's it? We can move on to our next group, which you also involved in this session. Okay, great. Any business analysts, functional consultants, can you please do the same? Just put your name in the chat window and just put in brackets BA, please. Do we have any BAs on the call? Yep, we have Mary, thank you. And we only have 1 BA or functional consultant. Great. Do we have any testers on the call? Okay, so we have our colleagues here. So there is, let me see, there is 38 of us on the call, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4 developers and 1 functional consultant. The rest of you, what are you?
Scrum Masters.
Please, can I have your name and Scrum Master in the chat window, please? Just waiting for the names to appear in here. Yeah, we also have a data analyst, product owner, Scrum Master. So from here. So thank you so much for those who have put in their names and the working area in the chat window. The good news from that is you've kindly volunteered to be the participants tonight. So at some point, now I have your names and what you do. I won't ask anymore, I'll just call by names. So at some point, one of you, I'll kindly ask if you can share your screen. And then instead of me clicking on things my side, I'll talk you through exactly what we are meant to know, what we're meant to understand. From that point, anyone else with any question can ask a question, regardless of which area you work in. So, yeah, thank you for those who are still putting their names in here. Appreciate it. I'll just get the export from here and I'll put it in OneNote. Okay, so let's get started. So from the last session where we spoke about sales insights, why sales insights are very important for an organization. So we're talking about sales insights. So at this moment in time, we're talking about an organization understanding how their product is selling, how their product may sell, how their product did not sell, what they can do to sell that product. So there's various ways how this can be achieved. So basically, with these sales insights, the organization can look at emails. So these emails are in a dynamics sales context. We're talking about opportunity email, account email. So in dynamics, emails, appointments, phone calls, and the last one, it says overall. So what you can see on my screen here, can someone tell me what this is saying? This is not a reading test, it's just for participation for the call. Can someone just shout out?
Emails.
Emails.
Great. The next one, please.
Meetings.
Great.
Phone calls.
Phone
Okay.
calls.
The
Tasks.
next one. Okay. Wonderful stuff. So the next question, in a dynamics context, regardless what function you work in, these have a grouping, they have a name. So of course, I'm gonna kind of shorten it down for you here. We can say tables, but they're not tables. The question is, does anyone want to guess what these things come under? Emails, meetings, phone calls, tasks.
Activities.
Yeah, wonderful stuff. That makes me happy. So yeah, 100%, there are activities. So if you hear someone saying to you, oh, we need to do this for the activities, the first question you need to ask, what activity? Because what you see in dynamics, believe it or not, you still have an option for a letter. You still have an option for a fax. So someone is giving you a requirement. We have our product owner on the call. The product owner has now said, oh, on the activity form, can you go and create this field or column? You need to be asking the product owner, what activity are you talking about? Which activity are we working on here? Because you have different types of activities. So from a sales insights context, we start looking, how many emails have we sent to our customers? Out of those emails, which ones had a positive outcome, which resulted in a sale, which resulted in growth of the sale for the product? Which email resulted in no reply? So all that is giving the organization an insight. Just looking at emails alone, nothing else, just emails. So you then start looking at meetings. So these here, why they are important, they cover all the areas. So for our colleagues who are data analysts, this is where you also get involved, start doing some analysis of these numbers. You start building your Power BI dashboards. If you decide to use Excel, which doesn't happen that much anymore, you start building your reporting from here. You start looking at meetings. Our sales teams, they've been going out on the field. Some cases they've been flying. While they're flying to different locations, how many meetings are they taking? How many meetings are they handling? What is the outcome? You start looking the distance traveled and the money the organization has spent and how much revenue has come back from those meetings or any opportunity pipelines which have come out of it. So again, you start having some analysis here. So what then happens is you then look at phone calls, which have become more or less the easier way in some cases. But in some cases, our sales people, they are calling these organizations, they're being told that person is not around, or in some cases, the person just doesn't want to speak. So you then kind of look at these phone calls. So if you remember, the second session which we did, I did speak about phone calls being recorded in Dynamics. So you have your phone call, is it outgoing and is it incoming? What was the purpose of the phone call? So what then happens here, we'll speak a bit more about phone calls after speaking about tasks. You start looking at analysis. Is it worth us making more phone calls or less phone calls? Is our business efficient with meetings? Is our business efficient with emails, which might fall in a junk folder for someone? The organization now makes strategic decisions, which one to use. So in here, we have tasks. So these tasks, they're more internal feature. So what that means, in a DevOps side of things, whereby you create your task, you have your things on the board. The question is, in a sales area, out of the tasks being created, how many of them have a positive outcome? How many of them are being completed on time? How many of them are falling through without any positive outcome? Those things are very, very important for an organization. So you can take it in a different context here. I always love to refer to our friend who gave us a lovely example of a university in Leicester. In that context, from a university point of view, the university is more interested how many of their students joined in, how many done 100% attendance, how many completed with 100% on their essays, how many did not show up to lessons. Those are the insights which helps the organization from a university point of view to say, okay, students are not showing up to classes, what do we do? So if you see an example, most educational institutions, when there was COVID, they realized people cannot travel. Let's put everything online. People are now working online. You look at normal working environments, in some, not normal, but in some working environments, whereby people are being told you can work 3 days from home, you can work 100% at home. Again, the organizations have gained insights. So in some cases, there is some sort of reporting taking place somewhere, but in a sales context, they're more doing analysis on what makes them profit and why they're not making profit and what they need to do to make that profit. That's how important sales insights is. So why it's important for some of you. So one thing I can tell you, you might go on a project and you might never work with sales insights. But why it's important, understanding the out-of-the-box capability. What is it can do? You don't want to be that person because in most cases, we always refer to our functional consultant or our BAs to know all these things. Vice versa, you don't want to be that person who gets asked the question by either a BA, a tester, product owner, whoever it is, even a data analyst, and you say, oh, that doesn't exist in Dynamics. And in most cases, what tends to happen, some people go and do this research, and then they'll come back to you and tell you, oh, you told me that's not available, but it's available, you can do it this or so and so. Of course, you can say, why did you ask me if you're gonna go and do research? But they see us as the experts. So in most cases, it's good to know the out-of-the-box capability. And the answer I will always suggest is, if you're not 100% certain, please, you are allowed to say, I will get back to you. And then you can go and do your research. But just to answer to say, oh no, you cannot do that. Yeah, it's something which doesn't happen, because in some cases, even though it's not an out-of-the-box capability, some development can be done by our awesome developers we have on this call. They can develop something to meet that process. So it's always important to understand and to always make sure you say, let me get back to you. If you're 100% certain, of course, you can say no. So do we have any questions in regards to this slide here when we talk about emails, when we talk about meetings, when we talk about phone calls? Any questions from anyone or any comments or something you may want to say about these activities which you all
Hello?
rightly said? Hello there, good evening.
Yeah, my name is Elvis. The question I'm having here is, email is low. Does it mean email do not contribute anything? Because majority of the conversation goes through mail. So why is the email low?
So very, very good question, Elvis. So this slide you're seeing here, it is for learning purposes. So it's not a representation of any organization. So this is just for learning purposes here. So in the next cohort, what they might see, it might be changed all around. Reason being is just to have the representation of a lower end, a high end, something almost high and high. That's mainly the reason why, but it's not to say that's how it works in a work environment.
All right, thank you so much.
Thanks. Thanks for asking the question. I really appreciate the engagement. Any question from anyone else in terms of these slides before we move on? Okay, great. So we're going to go to our next slide here. So in here, I think Daniel went through with you as rightfully as Femi mentioned about artificial intelligence. So with artificial intelligence, it is already built into Dynamics 365 Sales Insights. So there are models which are already set up. You can also train your own models to do the predictive scoring. So what we mean by predictive scoring, we're talking about an email. Is it likely that we're going to get a lot of revenue from our email generations? Is it highly unlikely we're not going to get anything from phone calls? We might get a little bit of business by having an organization where we are organizing a lot of tasks within our organization. In some cases, these models here, they do not need to say grade A. They do not need to be color coded for this scoring. This again, it is for learning purposes. An organization can basically say high, low, medium, semi-high, semi-low. Those things are configurable. The key thing here to understand is the models which are set up. So in terms of these models, this is where our BAs come into it, because the BA need to understand what that model does. From our developer, the developer is going to be the one training the model. From our QA tester, we're going to test the model to see if it actually works. From our Scrum Masters, you need to be part of that conversation. If there's a blocker, what is the blocker? You need to be part of the discussion, right? You can't just be a passenger. Our product owner, of course, they're the one who have given you this task. In some cases, we might just have a project manager than a Scrum Master on a project. You still need to understand exactly what's going on. So one person we missed here is the person to do the analytics, to start saying we have 1,000 organizations. How are we going to get the highs and our lows in a much more interactive dashboard? That's where Ade will come into it, our data analyst. You start building up these dashboards so they see real-time data when these analyses are being made to help the organization make those decisions going forward. So here, the key thing from a business analyst point of view, to understand what is the ask from the product owner, in terms of what the model needs to achieve. And from the developer is now to trust our BA or functional consultant, what they've put down on their requirement. And from a testing point, again, we need to know when we say a machine learning model, what are we speaking about here? So in most cases, from a tester, it could be automated from a testing point. It can be manual. The key thing is, are we getting those results which are expected back? And I'm pretty sure some of you who do testing, you know, the practice is to make sure we have a new set of data when we're doing our testing. So once we have a new set of data, we start looking to see, okay, are we getting our results back? So again, this whole sales insights conversation brings everyone on board. So in terms of predictive scoring, which will be models used in this context, does anyone has any questions or any input in terms of this?
One would assume that calculation of a score will be in figures. So I don't know how this is calculating.
Yeah, very good input there. So the calculation can be in figures to say the number of emails which are working well for organizations is this. In some cases, it can just be color coded to say the green organizations, which is a total of this amount, are high, basically in a bar chart. So again, the key thing is the figures, because the senior leadership teams in organization, what they care about is the figures, yes. So they don't really care about just seeing a bar chart without any figures, because the figures is what tells them how much money they're going to make, how much money they're losing. So yes, it will mostly be numbers. So on that note, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I just need to pull up another set of information I need to share with you all. Just give me 1 second to so basically what I'm going to do here, I'm just going to show you something you have seen already, something you know already now. This is just to prepare you for what we are going to do next in terms of the practical side of it. So let me just share my screen again. So on this slide, I'm going to show you here. I'm not really going to speak much. I'm going to ask you to just get involved and share what you think about it. It's things we've covered already before. So on this diagram here, if someone speaks about the sales capability, and if someone speaks about out-of-the-box functionality or vanilla stuff, most of the time they're talking about these things you're seeing on the screen.
Alex, there's no diagram.
Great.
There's no screen.
Thank you so much. I thought I pressed the share button. Should be able to see it now.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, you can see it now, right?
Yep.
Yep. So who is that speaking, by the way? You guys can hear me, right?
Yes, we can. I think it was Pat.
Yeah, so if someone can kindly talk through everyone what this diagram is talking about.
I think it's just the journey from start to finish. It looks like a process map where the first one is the lead has been identified, and then it progresses to the lead being qualified, which is meaning is a potential customer, and then an opportunity will be created following that, all the way to getting a code and the order and the invoice issued.
Okay, that's basically just that. Thank you so much for that. So does everyone agree with what's been said, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. So if everyone agrees, the good thing for our product owner, we have experts who know what a sales process is. So basically what you're seeing here, that's the whole sales process. If you're talking about Dynamics 365 sales, this is the sales process. So for our developers, I'm going to name our developers here. So we have Mary. Mary is a functional consultant. We have is it Ike or Ike? Ikeloa?
Yes, it's Ike.
Okay, great, thank you. So you're a developer and our product owner is talking about you're doing some work for them. So from your point of view, from what you're seeing on this screen here, what would be of interest to you in terms, more or less what I'm trying to get to here, what would be the developer name of something you'll go and look for here? So for example, let me just make it even more easier. Our product owner is talking about you doing some work here. Contact. From a developer point of view, what would be of interest to you? If you're not so sure, you're more than welcome to give it a try.
I'm not sure.
Okay, no, that's fine, not a problem. Anyone else who wants to, any of our developers who would want to say, okay, this is of interest to me, our product owner has spoken to our business analyst, what is it we are looking at here?
Can I try?
Yes, please go ahead.
So I'm thinking this would be where the developer will start working on a contact form for that customer for the opportunity.
You are on the right lines. Can someone else jump in as well? So what you're saying there, you're on the right lines. Can anyone else guess what our developer will need to look for here? So the thing you mentioned there, form, 100% right. There's more things from a developer point of view. What is the first thing you're going to look at if you're a developer?
I can try, Alex.
Yes, please.
So yeah, as a developer, I'll be thinking what are the criteria for me to put in place to be able to identify a lead? Because that's the starting point, I guess.
Okay, great. That's a great attempt. Anyone else?
Would it be a field?
That's again on the right lines with Bussola. Anyone else? We're getting there.
Could it be customer satisfaction?
Yeah, good try. Any other things?
Yeah,
go on.
I was just going to say that who are the customers? Have they been qualified ready, and have their contact been record been created?
Okay, great. Let me just give you a hint here. So does anyone remember the example I gave about a house? And I talk about a house having windows, a house having furniture. Does anyone remember that example? If not, it's okay, I can remind you a bit more again. Anyone remember that example in our very first class? No? Okay. So in here, PO has asked our BA, has given the requirement. The requirement is clear for the BA. It's gone through detailed refinement. It's now going into the sprint. Our developer, the first thing they need to go and check is the table. Yeah, table. So when someone said form, someone said fields, you're 100% right. But all those components, they reside within the table. If you do not see the table, you can then not have the fields because they all reside within the table. So it's important from a developer point of view to know that. From a tester point of view, it's also very important. So if you are a tester, what is of interest to you here? We spoke about the developer, we spoke about table. If you are now a tester, what is of interest for you there? Anyone want to give it a try? No? So there's a colleague of ours who was asking Deji the question earlier about the work on a contact form. If you're on the call, please just unmute yourself, please. If not, I'll just ask Mr. Deji to tell me who this person is. Anyone wants to guess any of our testers? So you've been given, as part of your, towards the end of the sprint, you've been given the task to now do your testing. What is of interest for you here? Let's move away from here. We can even come to an opportunity. What is of interest to you? What are you going to look for? So the simple answer, which you need if you're working as a tester, which is very important. And if you have a notepad, please do write it down now. You need to understand what form are you going to be doing your testing on. You could have multiple forms. What field are you going to test? Yeah. What relationship are you going to test? What business process flow are you going to test? All these things reside in a table. Table, our developer. Tester, we're talking about those attributes within our table. What is it you are going to test? So please do remember. If you remember, again, on the first session, I did speak about the timeline. If you're doing your testing, when I created that contact form and I created an email, if you don't know where the timeline is, you will have a nightmare because you don't know what you're meant to be looking at. So it's important for you from a testing point of view to understand that. So we then move on. We have our data analyst. So we have our data analyst. What will be of importance or of interest from a data analyst point of view? We're talking about the opportunity. We can also talk about the contact. We can talk about account. What will be of interest to a data analyst from these things? The clue here, just remember data, right? And then take the analyst away and put analytics. So the data analyst is looking at the numbers here. How many opportunities were won? How many opportunities were lost? They start building the dashboards from here. How many opportunities against accounts? How many opportunities against contact? We all agree there is a relationship here, this here, and this and this. The opportunity will have an organization. In the organization, we'll have a primary contact. The person we speak to, the person who makes that decision in signing off the deal. So from a data analyst point of view, is very, very important. Scrum Masters, what is of interest for you here? Any Scrum Masters want to give this a try? Please feel free to unmute yourself and give it a try, please. So a typical example here, as a Scrum Master, you could have one of our developers who are still learning the product, and they've come to you and say they have a blocker here. When the opportunity is created, it's not connecting to the contact. Of course, as a Scrum Master, you are thinking, how do I unblock it? Before we get to our product owner to say that's not possible. If you're a Scrum Master, you understand this journey here. You can simply tell our developer colleague to say, when opportunity is created, it should create a contact or map to an existing contact. And at the same time, we can always coach them to kind of look at it a bit more, or we can ask them just to raise a ticket with Microsoft, saving us time to go back and forth and start getting our product owner getting married. So it's important from a Scrum Master point of view that you understand this. One persona we haven't spoken about is the business analyst. So as a business analyst here, as a functional consultant, we have Mary. Mary, is there something you can tell us what could be of interest to you? What is your main interest in what you're seeing from this image here?
Hi, I think the whole process from lead identification to qualifying, I think probably what I'll be thinking about is what for me would qualify, what for me would make a lead qualify to be a customer. So from what are those things I'll be measuring for the lead to be moving from one stage to the other? That's what I'll be probably asking the business. So if I have a lead, what do I need to look out for the lead to qualify to go to the next stage?
Okay, wonderful stuff. Thank you so much. That's pretty spot on. So we've heard what our business analyst thinks of this. One thing to keep in mind, as much this is a sales process, this sales process is the definition of Microsoft. It's what the recommend organization use as part of a sales process. However, I have seen in other projects where this thing here does not exist. They just basically create everything as an opportunity. Okay, so it's always good as well to know. And at the same time, if you're a business analyst, try to guide them to the best practice so they start their journey here, because there's no point of creating opportunities and having contacts which may never go anywhere if he gets disqualified. I have seen also on projects, we're talking about this sales process. I've seen on projects where they use it just to keep contacts. Just contacts, nothing else. This is Mr. So-and-so, Mrs. So-and-so, that's their number, that's their email address. So in this context here, you've got to a project and they're just using contact only. You are a business analyst in this case. What are you going to do? They use contact, they just want to keep their contacts, someone's first name, last name, mobile number. and email. What are you going to do as a business analyst here? Let me just rephrase the question for everyone, right? What is the purpose for us to go to work?
To get paid.
Yeah, fantastic. Does everyone else agree we get to work to get paid, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Does anyone disagree? Anyone who disagree that we go to work to get paid? Okay, so it's good, we all agree, we go to work to get paid. Given you have had this opportunity at Blue Sky, you know what the sales pipeline does. It's now the opportunity for you to get paid more. You start introducing some of the capabilities to them. Because in some cases, you get to an organization, you ask them, why are you just using contract? Because they don't know the rest of it. So it's now your opportunity from a business analyst point of view. It can even be a Scrum Master. You can say, oh, I can see you're not using it to its full capability. We might need to hire these resources. You're creating more work for yourself. You're also getting paid more money because that is not a free service. So always keep that in mind. As much as you're going to deliver your knowledge with Dynamics 365, always keep your eyes open for opportunities to make more money. Very, very important. If you don't tell them, what tends to happen, whether it's permanent, you stay there, they're really happy with you, you're doing amazing stuff. You're a contractor, you go on your contract, 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, fantastic, they're happy with you. The only problem, what that brings is if you do not see the gaps you see here, and then a young apprentice comes along and they'll say, oh, we can do this and that, this and that. The next thing they're going to be saying, oh, we had a BA, we had a developer, we had a tester. They never told us about these things. And these people are Dynamics experts. So the whole idea is to also look to create opportunities within the projects you go to. So for some of you who think, okay, if I go for a contract job for 3 months, are they going to renew it? The question you need to ask yourself is, are you helping the organization to use some of these functionalities? What is the value you're bringing? Don't just go there and just say, okay, I'm just going to sit on here. That's what it is. Try to also open your eyes and make money. That's very important. So the next thing now is the practical element. So the first thing I'm going to ask is for a volunteer developer to put themselves forward, share their screen. If we do not get a volunteer, I will volunteer someone. I will basically pick someone from the list you kindly gave me in the beginning. And I'm pretty sure we're all students, we're all learning together. I'm pretty sure we can just share, right, if we get chosen. So the first opportunity is just one of the developers, please unmute yourself and say, yes, you're gonna volunteer. And then we're gonna ask you to share your screen. And then we take it from there. Any developers wanting to volunteer? Before I do a round robin and just pick a name.
I can volunteer.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much. Can I kindly ask the admin team to make Ike a co-host so I can present the screen? So before we present the screen, one thing I want you all to remember, whatever project you go on to, these two things here are your friends. So in here, you have this thing here called make.powerapps.com. So I'm taking that, I'm putting that in the chat window. This is important. The URL is the same for every single organization you go to. So I'm just sharing this with everyone. Make.powerapps.com. Again, this does not discriminate. It's for everyone. Even product owners do dive into this sometimes, and they have a look at things. Yeah. The next one I'm going to share with you is called admin.powerplatform.microsoft.com. These two things are your friends. So I refer to them is basically your kitchen. That's where you make your food for your project. So it's admin.powerplatform.microsoft.com. Again, these are standard for every single environment, every single organization you go to. There's no difference, they are the same. So on that note, we are going to ask Ike to share the screen. And then from there, I'm going to be giving some instructions. But from those instructions, I'll also be asking questions so we all participate. So this is more practical than us just talking without seeing what we need to be doing. So our business analyst, our QAs, please be on hand. There will be input needed from your side as well. So I'll stop sharing, and I think we need I think I can make Ike can I? Okay, no. So can the host kindly make Ike a presenter, please, a co-host or presenter, please? Is the host okay? Can you all hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes.
Okay, awesome. We're just waiting for the admin, the host, to make Ike a presenter. Let me just message them. I'm just asking for it. I want a second. So I've just asked a question. So while we are waiting for that, I'm just going to share my screen and I'll start showing you some of the things I wanted Ike to be driving from a Power Platform Dynamics point of view. So let me just share my screen back. If you can let me know when you can see my screen, please.
You can see your screen.
You can see it, right? Okay.
Yep.
Great. So the first thing which is important for all of you, regardless of what function you work in, once you get to make.powerapps.com, what you see on the top right-hand side here, you get to click here and you get a default environment. A default environment is always there for every single platform of Dynamics you go onto. So every organization will have this default environment. So what happens is each time you come in, you just go in here, it will take you to this page here. And once you get to this page here, this is rubbish to yourself. This is nothing useful to you. What is useful is for you to come in here and select your environment. So from a developer point of view, you have a development environment here. So how many of you have had the term called ALM, Application Lifecycle Management? Anyone heard of it before? Basically, ALM is the process which takes place in terms of our Dynamics 365 governance. So what that means, a developer will work in a development environment. Then the testers will have a testing environment. Then the users will have a user acceptance testing environment. And then you get to production. That's the standard. Other organizations decide to expand it a bit more. So it's important to ensure when you're doing this development work, you understand the ALM process. So you're talking about the dev environment. So in most cases, you won't hear development, you just hear dev. You then go test. In some cases, they don't call it test, they just call it QA. So again, it's just good to remember those. The environments you only see are the environments you have access to. So if you don't have access to the environment, you're not going to see it here. That's just how it's designed. It's by design. So in this context, we're going to look into our training environment, which is of interest to us here. So once you get into this training environment, what you can see in here, right at the top, you have something called solutions. So when you can see solutions here, you then have publishers, you then have history. So can someone just unmute yourselves and tell me what you think by the term solution? What is the solution? If someone can just kind of give me what they think, what a solution is, and then we move on to publishers, and then we'll move on to history.
Is it like dev environment or design environment?
Okay, that's a good attempt. Anyone else? So a solution is very, very important to understand here from a developer point of view. A solution is our container. That's where our components will reside in. Okay, so in that context, what I mean is you can see you have these solutions: blue sky, contact, lead, opportunity, account, and cases. So these are just shells, or it's basically our house, which would then have some furniture and some windows in them. So that's one key thing to remember. We also have a publisher. So what a publisher is, it is the entity doing the development. So you can have basically a blue sky, a publisher. So we have a blue sky publisher in here. So if I go on publishers, we have a blue sky Citadel publisher. The rest are Microsoft publishers. You can create as many publishers as you need in here. But in most cases, it's best practice to keep them consistent. So what that means, if you're a developer, you go and create a solution. I'll show you where this comes into it. And then code history. So the history tells us all the solutions which have been put into this environment, including Microsoft's solutions. So how this becomes very important for our Scrum Masters, if you happen to have one of your developers telling you it's taking so long to do a deployment, you can easily come into history. And how important this is, it tells you the start time, it tells you how long it finished. So if you just expand, if I can, yeah, here, it tells me when it started, and then it tells me when it finished. So again, someone's telling you it's taking an hour, you can come in and see it's taking 5 minutes. You can always challenge those times. So again, if things fail, they'll also be presented in here. If they fail, they will have an error message. So essentially what you can do is you can open this and you can tell this took 8 minutes, 30 seconds. So this is one of the good things about Dynamics. You get to see these things in here. So we then cancel this and we're going to go into solutions. So in here, if you select new solution, again, you basically give this test as a name. So if you see the display name you give is the name which goes into the name column. So essentially what you're seeing here, the display name has been put here. And at the same time, we need to know who is developing in this solution. That's where your publisher comes into it here. You can create a new publisher here. And the solution versioning is always like this. It's always by default 1.0.0.0. So if you want to stretch this a bit more, that's when you start developing best practice and say, for our versioning, we're going to say this solution is 1.0.0.1. The next solution we deploy is now 0.0.2. The number just keeps incrementing. From a developer point of view, it is always good practice to put a description of what's in your solution. If you can see, it also have a date when this was created. Of course, we haven't created it. The moment we create it, it will also have a time when we created it. If you see right at the bottom here, it says unmanaged. So once we get here unmanaged, can anyone tell me what an unmanaged solution is? So just for our developers on the call, it's very, very important you pay attention to this, because what you'll be asked to do is based on this same process. So in this case, I've created the solutions for you, but you need to do the work within the solutions yourself. So what you can see here, you have package type and you have this little thing here. So if you just put your mouse here, you then click onto it. So can someone tell me what is an unmanaged solution?
Solution is still
Under development.
Yeah? Do we all agree?
Yeah.
Okay, great. One thing to keep in mind here, some organizations, they tend to have these things in production. It's not a good practice, but in some cases, it's an organizational decision, which you may not be able to override. But if you talk about recommended and best practice, development environment is always unmanaged. The rest of the environments, they are managed. So can someone tell me what a managed solution is?
A solution that is packaged and ready
Yeah.
for use or is in use, yeah.
Okay, do we agree?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful stuff. So those two things are very, very important. So what you happen to see on your journey when you go to these interviews, they tend to talk about these things on interviews. They tend to say, have you worked with unmanaged solutions before? So the typical answer you need to give is the same. We've worked with unmanaged solutions before. Yes, you've worked with them in a development environment. And then in the forward environments, which is QA, UAT, production, we use managed solutions, as it is good practice to do so. That's your answer done. If you say you haven't worked with an unmanaged solution, what tends to happen at that point, the interview can become a bit tricky, because they'll start asking you a few more questions around solutions. Then all of a sudden, yeah, it becomes a bit tricky. So it's very, very important you remember this. So especially for a developer, 100%, all the other functions, maybe 60, 70%. So it's important you understand this. So once we are here, in here, we need to put our description. What goes in our description here, most of the cases is those stories we have on the backlog. You simply basically copy and paste all of them in here. So in this case, we just put test in there, and then we'll put 1. And then what you can see, I'm trying to create. Can someone tell me why I cannot create this solution here? Is it permissions? Is it I've got it wrong, or I'm missing something?
The configuration page.
It's not selected the public. It's not selected the
Configuration page?
publisher.
Yeah, nothing is there.
So which one should I complete here?
The
publisher.
configuration page.
You must select the publisher.
Select a publisher.
Yeah, so are we saying publisher or configuration page?
It's a publisher.
Publisher.
Okay, great. So
Publisher is mandatory.
that's the wonderful answer I was looking for. It is mandatory. The configuration page, description, you don't necessarily need to put anything in there, but it's good practice to do so. So again, mandatory. That's the representation here. I'm sure you've seen it. That's why you gave me that answer. And now the create button has now come alive. So at this point, you select create. So once I select create, it's going to create me a container. It's going to build me an empty house. No chairs, no table, no sofa, no TV, no doors in the house. So that's our solution container we've created. As you can see here, there's nothing to show. If you can see tables, there are 0. The next question here, for our business analyst, do we have a business analyst working on the contact table or contact form? Do we have a business analyst working with accounts?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay, great. Do we have a developer working with accounts, working with Mary?
I am.
Yeah.
I think there are more people on the team. I'm working as part of the development as well.
You're working as part of the development. Okay, great. 2-in-1, fantastic. So what I'm going to show you here is what is expected by our product owner. So I decided to create my own solution. So I don't do it for you guys. I want you guys to see what we are doing here. When the product owner says go and do it, you are able to do it for yourself. So in your role, Mary, I'm gonna use you here as an example because you have mentioned you're working on the accounts area. So am I right in thinking the product owner has some changes to be made to the account form?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so what will happen at this point, if you come into your solution, so we're gonna come out of this for a moment. If you come into your solution, which is account here, and then you need to do what our product owner has asked you to do, you got nothing here, right? And those working on the contact form, cases, opportunities lead, the same story applies to you. Yeah, so what needs to happen here, I'm gonna go back to my solution, which is this one here. So within my solution in here, you then have these options at the top here. So you got new, so you can create an application within the solution. You can create a Canvas app. You can create a model-driven app. You can create a page. A page before was called a portal. So do not confuse Dynamics 365 application and a portal. There are two different things. So if you go to a project, you talk about portals, you're talking about something completely different. Dynamics is referred to as Dynamics 365 application or environment. So that's why you're seeing it in here. When they refer to a page, before they used to call it a portal, the new name now is Power Pages. But most of the people still call it portals. So it's important. Portals are mainly designed for external people. They interact with the Dynamics environment. So that's one thing you need to understand here. You can create new automation. You can go with the chatbot. You can go with the dashboard, report, rules, security, column security, security row. You can go for a new table. And at the same time, there's other things here. You can create environment, variables, connection rows. The next question I'm going to ask here, we all still remember the word collect, right?
I have a quick question, Alex.
Yes, please, go ahead.
Yeah, please. So if you go back to that where you clicked on.
Yep.
So in this case, the sales of the we're working on, what would we call it? Application.
Okay, so
power pages or what? What would we call it?
That's a very good question. So I'm going to ask the follow-on question from your question to the whole wider audience. What is an account table? I'm going to make it clear. What is an account table? Can anyone tell me what is an account table?
Name the account table. It's the name of the organization.
Okay, great. Where do you find an account table?
The account table will be the record of the organization.
Yeah, great. What is it? It's an account. It's an account. It's an organization, company, whatever we call it, the record. But where does it originate from? Does anyone remember?
Customer.
Go ahead.
Is it the customer?
From the customer, yeah, great. Does anyone remember the concept of OOTB?
Out of the box.
Out of the box, yeah? Great. So an account is an out of the box table. So what we mean by that, it's already existing in the environment. So we don't need this option here. We need this option here. So if you see, this is allowing you to create new items. In our context, in our project, we are looking at this option here. So you're gonna see all the tables here. Yeah? So we agree these are the out of the box tables, right?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to select account. So please take note, for all of you who are the developers, you will need to do this before you start developing. If you do not do this, you're not going to be able to develop anything. Yeah? So account, next. And again, I just don't want to leave this to the developers. We're all working as a team. So let's also have input to it. So at this
Sorry,
point,
could you show how you got to the tables at home?
yeah, perfect. I'll just cancel this. So I'll just go back a step. In here, you have, these are the areas you'll be working on. So I'm working in this test one I've created, which I'll delete at the end of this session. So we then get here, for your project you're working on, this is useless to you, you don't need this at all. Your focus is here. So you select add existing. If you remember, we also spoke about those prediction models. If you happen to get with that project, developer, this is for you. So going to the table here, and then from there we have accounts. We have the rest of them. You can basically search for them here. Contact, there's the contact here. We can search for lead. There is the lead here. We can search for opportunity by just putting this in here. There's our opportunity here. So in this context here, we're going to keep with Mary. So account, we're going to go for the account here. And the next thing to do is to select next. So this part here is very important. This is like you're cooking your food. This is where you put the ingredients. So, okay, I need to put this as part of my meal preparation. And the outcome you have is also dependent on what you select here. You can always come back and add more things. There's nothing wrong with it, but it's just important to know most of the stuff happens here. So if you see here, you can select objects. Yeah? Can anyone tell me what a column is? We can see columns highlighted here. Can anyone tell me another name for columns?
Fields.
Field.
Section.
Record.
Rows.
Yeah. Did anyone say fields?
Fields, yes.
Yes. Fields, 100% right. So the new name is columns. When you happen to do your development, this is the area you come into. There is an old interface which is still available. You should not work in there anymore. Your focus should be here. I'll show you the old interface shortly, but you should avoid working into that. It is very slow. There isn't any investment from Microsoft for that interface. They're looking to get rid of it as soon as they have everything in here. So these are our fields in here. So we can select the fields. The key thing here is to understand what forms do we need. Okay. So in here, as a business analyst, you're looking at this screen here, you're talking to our product owner. As a business analyst, what consideration do you need to take when you're having that discussion with our product owner? Femi, any input? What would you think you speak to our product owner?
Is it the futures to include in the tables?
Yeah, okay, that's a good attempt.
Is it the assets? If I'm going to go by what it's written there.
Yeah, so
is it the futures to, yeah.
So what will be important for you here, there are different types of form per table. So the types of forms, they are listed here.
Okay.
So you have a main form, which is what mostly the users will use. You also have a quick view form. You have a card. You also have an interactive experience. So the product owner mostly they're referring to this. In some cases, they can also refer to a quick create form, which is this here, which is a streamlined form to capture the important data required here. So it's important you understand that. So in this context here, what would be interesting for you here is to go into the main form, this one here. So this applies to leads, opportunities, cases, whichever table you're working with as part of your project. And at this point, we're also going to select the quick create form. We're going for this one here. So once we select that, we're going to select add. So we now have two objects we have added. The next part now is to go into form. We've got forms, so we've got these two things. We also have something called views. The views give us more or less of a view. Apologies repeating the name view here, but it gives us a visualization of the specific records we have. So in terms of our views, we have different types of views. So this again, the entry point is from a business analyst, testers, and devs. You'll be involved in this. So as our business analyst here, what is it we need to kind of think about when we look at views? Anyone who wants to give it a try as well?
Type of information displayed.
Okay, great. Anyone else wants to try?
I think any of these items that that can be linked to the types of accounts that we want to create.
Okay, great. So I guess everyone can still see my screen okay, right?
Yes. Okay.
Okay. If you can just have a deep breath and just look at this area here. What's on this area here? What is it of interest? Just carefully look at what you can see on this screen. I can tell you there are long lists going further down, but what is it which is standing out for you? What is it you need to understand? What is it that is consistent here? There's something which is very consistent.
Account.
Is money.
Account.
Account.
The name of the account.
Okay. So do we have a lot of things we just have accounts, right?
The type of views.
Who said that?
I did.
Okay, thank you so much. That's exactly the correct answer. So this is the point of interest. What view is it the product owner wants us to amend? What is it, what kind of view the product owner wants us to create for them? So in this case here, we are going to go for the advanced find view. We're going to go for all accounts. And we are also going to go for accounts associated view. And we're also going to go for inactive accounts. So if you remember, I did speak about types of views in one of our sessions. So if you can see, what types of views can you see on my screen? Someone just shout one, don't shout all of them, and then someone shout the next one.
Public view.
Public view, amazing stuff. So the key thing here, whatever you do in Dynamics, it's important if you're not sure about something, just to take a step back and look at the screen. Most of the stuff it tells you. So in this context here, can everyone see a view, the second view on my list here, which is account associated view? Can everyone see it?
Yes.
Yeah, everyone can see that, right?
Yes, we can.
Can someone tell me what does it do? What is its purpose? What is it there to do?
It displays information
Yeah,
about related account.
yeah, that's 100%. That's the answer. So again, the key thing here for you is to make sure you read what's on the screen. You kind of look at the screen. Don't make it complex by overthinking it. Just look what's on the screen. So it's important you look at what's on the screen. So at this point, we have the views we need, and we're going to select add. So once I have this option here, when you're doing your work, please do not select include all objects. One thing is bad practice. Secondly, you're going to carry over components you do not need. So please do not do it. If you need table metadata, yes, you can include it, but this here, do not do it. In this case, we are going to leave this unchecked. We can always include it if we need it later, but I'm going to select here. So in terms of what I'm adding here, can anyone tell me how many things am I adding for the account table?
Four views, 2 forms.
Wonderful stuff. So again, the same principle applies, just looking around your surroundings. 4 views, 2 forms. So we're going to select add. And then now, if you can see, we now have an account table. Within the account table, now I can expand this, and now I can go into accounts. So a form will have columns. So at the same time, we're talking about the account form here. So if I then go into the columns, you see there's no columns for this form, right? Can anyone tell me why there's no columns for this form?
We're yet to add any.
Yeah, great. That's basically that. We didn't add any, and I'm sure you could see it when we did it, we did not add any. So at this point, you can basically go into here, add the existing column, and then you select the columns you need. So in here, you can basically select account, account name, and then there should be somewhere it says last name. So if you see, there's quite a lot of them in here. I'm gonna take email. I'm gonna take created on, business type. So if you see the list is quite long, it's quite a long list, but it's good practice when you're doing a development, you only take what you need. So when I was looking at last name, can anyone tell me why I couldn't find last name? I can't find last name here. Can anyone tell me why I can't find last name? So we have last date, last on, last SLA. Can anyone guess why I can't find last name?
Because it's an
We're
account.
giving accounts,
Yeah,
not contacts.
great, great stuff. So when you're doing a development, it's things you need to keep in mind. There's no last name for an account. There's no last name for a lead. Of course, you can have a last name on the lead, you can create it, but out of the box, that's not available. So at this point, you then select add. And then now we have our tables in here. So once we have this, can anyone tell me something about the account name, which is the second on the list? What is an account name?
Primary contact for the company.
Yeah, okay, that's great. Anyone else? So the key thing here, I think our colleague Busola was doing it very well a few moments ago, is to look on your screen. An account name is a name of the account. It is a single line of text. Single line of text is just a free field where you can just type in some words. That's basically what it is. It is a managed field. You can customize it, means you can reconfigure it. So what I'm going to do here is you got yes, you got required yes. So when you say required, that's when we get that red X, correct. Searchable, it means we can search for this specific field. So I'm going to double click onto this thing here. And then I have this on the right-hand side here, right? So once I am here, what I'm going to do, I'm going to open the environment. Something. So to picking up a different login, that's fine. Let's log out and log in with this one. Doesn't like that one, so let's cancel that. We'll come back here. So as part of your development, this is what you need. I'll show you the other side, but it's not something you should be using anyway. But this is where you have it. So you can basically change the display name here. But the display name you are changing is this thing here. And at the same time, single line of text. What is a single line of text? Single line of text, what is it?
A line with few words.
Okay, great. Anyone else? What is a single line of text?
One word text.
It has to be on a straight line.
Yeah, great. Anyone else? Busola, I think you got this.
I said one word text.
Okay. Anyone wants to guess again? What is a single line of text?
No spaces, no.
Yeah, anyone else?
A text in a single line.
Okay.
On a single line.
Okay. Anyone want to give it one more try? Then I'll tell you if we're not there yet. Anyone else want to give it another try? What is a single line of text?
Yeah, whatever you're typing will just be on that space provided.
Yeah, okay.
And maybe it will be in alphabets only, no numbers. I don't know.
Okay. Can everyone see my screen okay, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so the single line of text, it is this. Yeah, it is a data type here. So there are different data types. So some of the answers you're giving me, it's a text you can write words into. Yes, correct. But if you're talking on a project, single line of text is a data type. There are so many of these data types. So if you click on this drop down here, you see you got plain text, you got auto number. These are a few of them. If we create a new field, I'll show you how many data types we have. So again, it's a single line of text, and then it is text, right? So can everyone see the word text?
Yeah.
Can anyone wanna have a guess what text is?
Almost.
Wonderful stuff. So again, we then define the behavior. So in most of the fields which you'll be working on, if you're not creating any new, you don't need to change this. But again, if you need to understand the behavior, you go to your helper here. If you click onto it, it tells you the behavior of it. If you talk about mandatory, required, if you click onto this, it tells you what's happening with it. So it tells you the different models which are available, optional, recommended. So again, it's important for you just to look at your surroundings. We said searchable, it allows us to search for it. There we are. again, these are some of the things you need to be aware of. So if I select advanced options, we can start seeing the schema name. So the schema name on the database is this. If you create a new field with that blue sky publisher, I'll show you what happens. So I'm going to cancel this here, and I'm going to create a new field, a new column. So in this column here, I'm going to call it blue sky 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And in this, I'm just going to put a description. This is a text, a test. And we spoke about our data types. So now have a look at the data types we have. We have text, we have a number, we have date and time, we have lookup, we have a choice, we have currency, we have auto number. For the purpose of this demonstration, I want to show you, I'm going to go for a choice. So this is the choice here, and you have two different types of choices, a yes or no, or choice. So I'm going to go for choice here, and I'm going to show you why. So once we are here, we then have an optional. By default, it will come as optional, so we can define it as mandatory. So we're going to put business required. We want it to be searchable, and you can also have the option to select multiple choices. In this case, we're not going to do that. And at the same time, it's asking us to sync with a global choice. So that means we can use it in different tables. We can use this on the account table. We can use this on the contact table. So we're going to leave that like that. It's now asking us the choice we need to sync with. So I'm going to select activity type here. So if you see the activity type, these are the activities I was telling you about earlier. I'm going to select that so you know exactly what we are doing here. And then for the default choice, I'm going to select an email as a default choice. Okay, so now we are at this point here. In some cases, we're not going to create this. We might have a product owner says they don't want to use what's existing already. Can you create a new one? So what you then need to do is to select this option here. If you select no, you then put a name here. So you put test 1, and then you add another one, test 2, test 3, test 4. So the list can be as much as you want it to be. What's important here, you do not play around with these numbers here. They are generated once you select new choice. So at this point here, if I select default choice, I'm going to say none. I don't want any default choice to be available. And if you look, if I select advanced options now, you can now see the schema name. It's now picking up our publisher here, Blue Sky. And at the same time here is picking up the name of the field. We have auditing turned on, which means we can check what's happening on our field, who's making changes, who's creating, updating, or deleting. At this point, I'll select save. So once I select save here, what you can see, default pick list value has to be one of the options values. So again, it's telling us here what the issue is, and the issue is here. So it wants me to select one of these things. So I'm going to select test 1 as the default option, and I'm going to say save. So once I select save here, what it's doing right now is writing to the database in the backend to say, look, I have a new field. This is what we are creating it on. We're creating it on our account table because that's what we are doing here. So once we have that, what you see here, it will create, and we'll see our field here. There is an additional step, what we need to do to make that available for everyone. So what you can see, it doesn't appear here, right? Now it is here. Can you see it? And what then happens here, this is now the distinction. I can easily come in here. This is a Microsoft field. This is Microsoft. This is what we've created, a blue sky. This is Microsoft. Again, if you start seeing it now, it's telling us it's a choice. The question is, what is a choice? Anyone, what is a choice?
The choice is either yes or no. It's a
Sorry.
data type of yes or no.
It's a data type.
Great, wonderful stuff. So basically, we now have our field here. So the next step here is to then go back a step. We need to select, so we have a solution created here, Blue Sky product owner. So I'm sure you can see our product owner has created one here. So what we can see at this point, we can always go in here, but let's finish what we are doing here. So we can select our solution in here. Let's open it, and then we select publish. We need to make sure our changes are visible. So we basically just select publish here. What we are doing at this point, we are only publishing what's within our solution package. You only open your solution and publish that. If you say publish all outside your solution, you're going to impact your colleagues because the system becomes very slow for them. But in this case, you simply go open your solution and say publish your customizations. So in some cases, as a developer, you might hear someone saying, oh, I cannot see your changes. It's because you haven't published them. So at this point here, we are seeing is doing the publish. And then from publishing, we're going to go and look at the other solution. Loading. So while this is publishing, for our developers, are we going to be happy when our product owner says, that's the work, let's get going, we need to meet our sprint goal? I'm 100% sure you will. One of the benefits you have, I'm sure you have this recording, so you can always go back and just have a look at it. If you can see now, it's succeeded here. So we can now go back at this point here. What we can also do now, we've done a publish here, we can always go into our history. And if you can see, there was a publish here. And we can then start seeing how long it took. And then there was a second one here. This one here, I can tell you it failed because either someone tried to publish while the other one was running. So if you open it, it tells you here that another operation was running, so you can't run it, so it will just fail it. Basically, that's the answer here. So we now have our solution. So we can go into our product owner solution here. And for our developers, if you can see, our product owner is very capable in what he's doing here. So he's created these things. So if you then go to say to our product owner, oh, you cannot do that, they know what they're doing also in here because they're kind of having a look and to see what it looks like. So it's important for us to be able to know, to say either, okay, I'll get back to you, than just saying a no. So what's important here is our product owner will start working with these things here, and they'll start creating choices. If we go back a step in here, I'm going to select this option here. So I've selected my solution here, which we created. If I select delete, what do you think will happen?
Everything will be deleted.
Delete everything, including the columns and the data that we created.
Okay, that's very good. Just to follow on the question, does it delete the tables and the columns from the system as well?
No, just if there's any information that was related to the system, but no, not the
Okay.
system, just the solution.
The row that will be deleted, not the column.
Okay, so what
The
will happen?
structure.
What will happen if I select delete? Like most of you say, it will delete the components. Basically, how it will do the delete, you just look in the container and drop these items from the container and leave them in the system, because these are out of the box components. It will get rid of the columns I've created in the solution here. So these columns, this column here will be deleted completely as well. So you won't see this again. That's what happened is here, delete. The rest, which are Microsoft components, they will stay. So that's why it's important to work in your own solution. If you decide to delete, everything else is still intact. It doesn't impact anyone. So once you have your solution here, this is the old way of doing things. Nowadays, this is automated, but you can basically select export. And then to make sure you have all your changes in the export, when we say export, we are now moving our solution, is now ready, it's going into a managed state, into a QA environment. You also have an option here to check for issues. You can check for issues to tell you for potential issues, what you need to fix before you go ahead. In this case, we know there's no issues, that's for sure. And then we select next. And if you see here, it's incremented the solution version from 1.0.1 to 0.2 by default. If you can see here, I did not change anything, just next, just goes to 1.2. And then the solution is moving to a test or production environment. That's what a managed solution is. The solution is moving to another development environment or source control. It's important to know what happens at this point. In this case, we are going to a test environment, and then we select export. So when we select export, it then creates a zipped file. So once it creates a zipped file, the zipped file will basically have all your components, your tables, your fields, and then you basically go and deploy. The deployment process, you're basically importing to the target environment. So once you do that, the next point here, you can, once you're a developer, you might get asked to remove some of the items from the solution. There are ways we can do that, but in this case, this is all you need to be able to do. So what you can see, it's exporting. Once it finishes exporting here, it will then give us a sign to say, okay, download it. We can also see who's exporting. So it's gonna write in here and it's telling us it's exporting. So this is being written here. We can see what time this export started. From this point here, 10:04, and it will tell us how long it will take once it's completed. Once it's completed, this will go green, and it will have an option right here to say download. There we go, it's now green, and we can say download now. And as you can see, this is our file, and within our file, we have our solution, the customizations, which are our tables. You don't necessarily need to play around with this. If you play around with this, you will mess it up. It will go horribly wrong. So you should never be touching this unless you know what you're doing in there. So that's our file. We basically just take the zip file and just import to the next environment. So that's that part. The next part now, to just keep our environment tidy, we are going to delete this. So once we delete that, it's gone. If it also tells you once you delete it, you cannot undo it. There's no recycle bin for it. It's done, it's gone. And it also registers in here that it's been done in this area here. So it registers an install. We exported it here, success here. On that note, I'm really confident that our developers, our colleagues on the call will be able to start working with solutions. My colleague, Daniel, tomorrow, you also go through some of these elements of solutions. So if you still have any outstanding questions, please do bring them forward. I'll also be on the class tomorrow. So if you have any questions, please feel free to bring them. Does anyone has any questions so far in regards to what I've been showing you here?
I have a question.
Yes, please.
Hi, it's Mary. So thank you so much. So when we're on Dynamics 365, is this coming to the solutions here on Power Apps? Is it the same journey? When you click on the gear icon, you go to advanced settings.
So that gear icon to advanced setting, that is going away, that is being phased out. So what you see from that gear icon, the solutions are now here, and some of the settings, they are now in this area here. So if you go into settings, they've now brought them in here. So you can basically look at your security roles in here, your users, business units. So if I go into users, you'll be able to see your accounts here.
Okay, it's looking quite different.
I'll be able to look. So this is the new way of doing things. The other one is still there, but we now call it legacy. So yeah, in here, this is how things are. So in here, you can also do a diagnostic for the user to see if the user has access. And it tells me the user doesn't have any security roles assigned directly to them. This is because the security role is coming from a team. That's why it's telling us this. So if I go to a different user, I should also get the same message, run diagnostic, the same message, but it's telling me the user can log in, the user has an active license, the user is a member of the environments group. So the environments group, that's where the security role is being taken from. So again, these are things you can do in here in this new interface. You can go back again into the settings area. You can set the features of the product, the languages, you got behavior. You also have data management, which is auto numbering, duplicate detection rules, integration to SharePoint, to Microsoft Teams, email. If you want to connect your email and Dynamics, it's all now been brought into here. So once there is one or two things left now from that old legacy interface, and it should be gone by end of this year.
Okay. So when we're over there, do we just switch? Is there somewhere to switch to come here, or do we need to use this link for Power Apps?
I would say if you use Power Apps, the Power Apps link, what you see, some of the features in the Power Apps, they're not in the legacy application anymore. And the Power Apps, in some cases, is much actually quicker than the old interface now.
Okay.
So the other added benefit with this interface, if there is 4 of you developers working on the same table, on the same project, you'll be able to tell where everyone else is. So for those of you who use co-authoring in Excel, where you see the other person is on this column, the other person is on that column, you're able to do that in this interface. You're able to say, okay, that person is working on that choice, that one is there. The legacy interface doesn't give you that.
Thank you.
Yep, no problem. Any other questions, feedback, input? I think we have Lumi there. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Alex. I just want to remind the admin that the video for the session we had on last week Friday was not circulated. There was no link to it. I didn't see it.
All the videos are on YouTube, guys. So you can check on YouTube, they're there. And you can even two ways, right? If you check under Alex playlist on YouTube, you will see there. Or if you check under dynamics, you will see it there as well. So yeah, or if you just check out the videos, you see it there.
Thank you.
Alex, when
Yes, please.
you did an export just now,
Yeah.
could you maybe I missed that part. I don't know where it went to or where you're able to view that.
So you want to see how to do the export or where to view it?
Where to view it.
So it will just download into your downloads folder. So if
okay.
you go into your downloads folder, which is this folder here, I'll just bring this folder to my screen. So in File Explorer, by default, it will just come into your downloads folder, this one here.
Okay.
So you just basically open it. Yeah, so once you open it in here, you can basically do a few more other things, which I don't encourage you to do just yet. So yeah, other things you can do is something like this. I'll just quickly show you. And then if anyone is interested in future, they can always reach out and ask. So you can do a few more things like this with your file. Downloads, that's our file here. And then you can kind of start seeing these interesting things. So if you start seeing the XML is here, so you can start playing with things like that. But again, if you're still building up your knowledge, you shouldn't be playing around with it. So in my case, normally I play around with it because I kind of know my way around. So I can give you an example. This one here is a very good one. It tells me everything in a solution and what's missing, and then I can kind of start taking things out. But again, it's just something for you to know it exists if you ever want to do it. But the key thing is just to make sure it's just this file you need and you take it to the next environment. Any other questions from anyone? So I'm going to add an additional requirement here. I don't know how the product owner would want to distribute it. So, you know, when you go into an environment, you have this on the top right-hand side saying Dynamics 365.
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm going to share with the product owner and the business analyst. The requirement is to change that so we have a blue sky logo there. And as part of that requirement, there's no need to write any code. It basically takes 5 minutes to do. Yeah. So yeah, if our product owner and the BAs, if you can take this on board, yeah, a requirement to have the blue sky logo here and also change the color of this so it goes with the blue sky color scheme.
Okay.
Any questions from myself or anything from anyone?
Thank you so much, Alex. So, all right, any question? Anyone? Okay, all right. So another thing I want to say quickly before I let Alex go, guys, the solutions has been created for you guys, the developers and the functional consultants. So to be honest, you don't need to create a new solution, right, for your work so that everyone can be using that particular solutions and you can work with that. So that's how it should work. So you should, within your team, right, you should use that particular solution that has been created for you, for the entities that you've been assigned to, if that's okay. So yeah, that's what I wanted to add. So don't create a new solution. You can see there's solution for cases, there's solution for account, opportunity, leads, and contact. So that is the one that we need to use for this purpose. Okay. Yeah, thank you. Okay, all right, I think that's it. And also, yeah, another thing that is we're going to do going forward, I think maybe Alice already started that, and because one is we will not teach everything, to be honest, because it took almost, I know it's been 10 years I've known Alex working on this, and you want to get all the knowledge within 3 months. That will not happen, to be honest. So, but what's going to happen now is the techniques of having to use Google to find what you want, right? Alex actually said that, okay, I want this logo to be changed to blue sky and also the stripe to be blue. So, and I'm not sure that he's told you how to do that. So, and I think you can just Google that out, right? So, which are other things that will be going on, we'll try to do as well to see how you can use the power of Google to do whatever you want to do. So, yeah. So I really want to see who's going to actually get this particular functionality done. Actually, when we come back, maybe we'll come back tomorrow, someone will have actually showed us that, yeah, I've been able to change it, and we can learn from that person. Yeah. Okay, any question before we go? Any question in terms of requirements? Any question in terms of the program? Anything that's not clear? Okay, all right.